This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself.
Today we're going to cover out how to get your fire table or fire pit working. This is fueled by propane and has the lava rocks here, and then has the ignition system here. You can see down in here there's a little metal tip. It's a white thing in the metal tip. That's the igniter. This is just a box to protect the igniter, and this is the venturi tube or burner tube. It's round. It's covered by these lava rocks. And if yours is not lighting, we're going to go over a couple of things you can check. One of them that's pretty common with these lava rocks is they get sometimes so many of them covering it up, because it looks better with them covered up, that part of the equation for flame goes away. For flame to work, you really need three things. You need the fuel, some kind of fuel, in this case is propane. You need oxygen flowing around, and you need an ignition source. So the fuel is a propane. The ignition source, in this case, is an electric igniter powered by a battery. It sends a powerful electrical pulse between that electrode and the burner tube, big spark, and then the propane comes in, mixes with the oxygen, and creates a nice flame. But if there's too many of these rocks in the way, sounds like it wouldn't interfere, but it can create a situation where there's not enough oxygen, and then it won't light. So if yours isn't lighting, first thing you might try is just moving these rocks away. Another thing you can look at is for ignition source. That's the oxygen side. For ignition source, is that metal thing, that electrode, the tip of it, is it dirty? Is it full of just carbon over the years? So if that's true, you could take an old toothbrush and get in there and clean it. Better would be a wire brush. You get in there and clean that and get it as shiny as you can. Also, the burner tube, where my little finger is, right in here, is where that electricity has to jump, and it's completing a circuit. So if these things are too dirty, the electrons can't jump, and you won't get an ignition, or you get a weak ignition, a weak spark. So this is an electric system. It uses a battery that's right inside here. You can just unscrew these things lefty-loosey, pull it out, and there's a little battery in there. I think this one's a AAA. Put it in the socket. You always want the electrode side, this protrusion here, the cathode or the positive side, to be pointing out towards you. You screw that in, and then when you press the button, it completes the circuit and sends a high voltage, low amperage but high voltage, and we get a spark. Let me turn this off so you can see it. A little spark there. So if you're pressing that and you're not getting a spark, it could be a couple things. Either the battery's too weak, very likely. You just get a new battery, simple. Or this area is too dirty and it can't make the jump, so you clean that up really good. So we talked about the oxygen maybe being a limiting factor and just getting the rocks away so there's more oxygen. And we talked about the spark. The other part is the fuel. So you get the fuel here. I'm going to turn this on, turn this valve, and then give it some spark. Yeah, and then we got a nice flame. Fired up good. So this one's doing great. It has the three things it needs. It has the oxygen, it's got the fuel, the propane, and it's got the ignition source. So I'm going to turn that valve off. So if you're not getting the propane or fuel, when you turn that valve, you're not going to get that whistling sound, because there's really no pressure, not enough pressure coming in. So when I turn that valve, I should hear like a whistle. I don't know if you can hear that on the video, but that's the gas rushing in. When I get that gas in there, give it a spark, and I get ignition. So maybe if you don't hear that whooshing sound, there's no fuel, and that could be a couple things. One is your propane tank could be turned off from last time it got used, which is a good protocol. So this being turned all the way to the right, this valve would be fully off. Turning it all the way to your left counterclockwise is fully on. So it should be in the full arm position. And make sure that this is on nice and tight, and that's fully turned. If you still don't hear it, it could be your tank is just empty. That of course happens over time. And another way to tell if the tank is empty is if you disconnect this, turn this off all the way, disconnect this one, pull the tank out. It should be kind of heavy because it's full of a liquid, the liquid propane. If you shake it around, you should be able to feel the liquid. If it's light and you don't get that sloshing feeling, it's probably out of fuel. And if you're out of fuel, you'll get the click, but you'll never get an ignition. So these same principles will hold true for those big propane outdoor heaters and also for a barbecue pit. But you need those three things. You need oxygen, you need the ignition source, the spark, and you need the fuel. Most common one, I think, for fire pits that I've seen is this really nice aesthetic of having a ton of glass beads or lava rocks to cover the igniter because it looks better. But there's so many that it kind of chokes out the system and not enough oxygen flow, and the fuel just can't ignite. It's just kind of basic chemistry. You need the hydrocarbons, but you need the oxygen to mix with it to become combustible. So that's the first thing I would try, just moving the rocks. Another thing you could do is get a can of electrical cleaner, like from Home Depot, or most hardware stores have it, or auto parts stores have it, and you spray the electrical cleaner in there. It just helps to clean off that electrode. But the mechanical motion of using an old toothbrush, or even better a wire brush, should be enough to get that nice and clean. So hopefully this will help you get your barbecue pit going. And again, you can use these same principles for your for your fire pit. You can use the same principles for your barbecue pit, and you will have a warm summer and hopefully some good barbecue. So thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe when you get a chance.